presentation started. Over to you, Erin.
Super. Thank you, Vishna. So as Vishna mentioned, I'm the National Project Manager for this particular project. And today on the webinar, we will go over the detailed program information, how to apply to this program, important dates that you need to make note of, and then also, as Vishna mentioned, we will have an opportunity for questions at the end. So this program is officially entitled the Summer Work Experience Green Jobs Initiative, and the program details are all hosted on the CPRA website. That cpra.ca/greenjobs is where you will find all of the program information that we talk about today. This program is funded by the Government of Canada through Employment and Social Development Canada as part of their Canada Summer Work Green Jobs Initiative project. So, program details. As Vishna mentioned, the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association has secured funding and a contract through the Government of Canada to develop this program to support green jobs for youth across the country. The program will provide direct financial support via wage subsidies for new green jobs for youth. So that financial support is an amount up to $5,712 per job. And that amount we will discuss later is inclusive of both salary and MERCs, the mandatory employment-related costs. Funding will be paid directly to municipalities, Indigenous communities, and other eligible sector organizations. And the funding will flow after the work term is complete. The CPRA has launched this program, and over the course of 2 summers will be providing a total of 1,000 new green jobs. So this will be in place for the summers of 2018 and 2019 with 500 jobs per summer available through this program. So what does this program entail? The biggest piece, and I suppose part of the most important information is what exactly is a new green job for youth. So those terms are defined here and also defined on the program website. New, a position is new if it has been created for the 2018 summer work term and is not a continuation of a current position. That can include positions with new titles. It can include positions or an expansion of a program where a position might not have been available without this direct funding. A green job is a broad definition and includes the list of positions you see on your screen in front of you, including park horticulture and landscaping, parks operations, parks planning, parks technicians, biodiversity, outdoor play and parks facilitators, parks ambassadors or interpreters, etc. A green job is not limited to the roles that are defined in this definition. So while you are applying, if your particular position isn't necessarily listed perfectly here, you will have the opportunity to suggest another title role that would fit the definition of a green job. Youth are defined as those who are 15 years of age to 30 years old. Youth must be enrolled full-time in school and be returning to school full-time in Canada at the end of the work term. The goals of the program are to create meaningful job experiences for youth, to build a generation of youth that will value nature close to home and potentially pursue the opportunity to build a career in the green job sector, and to generate much needed support to municipalities, Indigenous communities, and other sector organizations to hire additional youth to advance their green priorities. So some important points from the program details, and again, all of this information is found on the website. Work terms must be between 4 and 16 weeks in length. So that's to really capture the summer work term. Matched funding from the employer organization cannot come from another federal government funding program, and that part is very important. And only one application per organization is allowed. Allowable costs in the program, as mentioned before, include both salary support and mandatory employment-related costs. The definition for those MERCs is on the website. They include EI, CPP, amongst other costs for employment. And the maximum amount available per job in this program is $5,712. Additional funding may be available on a case-by-case basis for disability support, dependent support, and transportation accommodation. We can get into that a little bit later. And during the application process, an employer might not know whether or not those additional funds are required, but that's something that can be sought after the awarding of the job support. How to apply. So we're encouraging everyone to submit their application online, and the online application can be accessed via the web link you see here in the webinar. It can also be accessed via direct link on the CPRA website. The online application system allows the applicant to save their work as they go along. There is a save button at the bottom right-hand side of the screen when you have the online application open, and that save button will pop up and will generate a unique web link to your application. You can go back and pick up your work at any time. It also allows the applicant to apply for multiple jobs in the same application, and it also allows the applicant to exit the application and revisit it later to update or make changes or to continue through the application process. And the application is available in both English and French. And I should mention that all the information available today is published on the website in both official languages. So this is what the online application form looks like. You'll see on the left-hand side is a navigation list, and application form is highlighted in blue because the screen grab is taken from the landing page of the application form. So the first page that you will see as an applicant will ask for contact details from the applicant organization. It will ask you to define the type of applicant organization, and that particular pane is a drop-down menu that will provide you a list of eligible organizations from which to choose. Contact information for the application or applicant organization, and the list continues to insert the applicant website if needed, alternate phone numbers, etc. So part one is very administrative. The applicant will then continue to part two of the application. And in part two, there are declarations to be made. So firstly, is this application being submitted on behalf of an eligible organization? Yes or no? And you will see there's a link there to the program information. And then secondly, do you have the authority to submit this application on behalf of your organization? The applicant at this point, as you can see in the bottom right-hand side of that screen grab, is a gray save button. So if the applicant hits that save button, that will generate that unique URL, and your application will be saved along the way. So I encourage all applicants to continually hit the save button as they move along. That button is available at the end of every page through the application process. So if the applicant confirms yes for both of those declarations, they can move ahead to part three. And part three is the meat, really, of the application process. It is the funding request. So in this section, the applicant will have the opportunity to apply for multiple positions within their organization. And positions, I suppose, is different than a job. So as you can see, there's an example and a definition of position. A position can include multiple jobs so long as the job title, the work term, and the salary are the same. So this was done in an effort to minimize the workload on the applicant. If they are looking to hire 5 parks interpreters for the same work term at the same salary, the applicant only need to apply once for one position, and they indicate that that position is created for 5 jobs. So you will see the first question in section 3, in total, how many positions are you applying for in this application? And then the second gray box you will see is the description and all the details for the first position. So the name, the number of jobs to be created for that position, where the position will, or where the jobs will be occurring, in what town, and the work period associated. The applicant will continue to describe the work period, full-time or part-time, the anticipated start and end dates for the jobs to be created, and those are, we understand that those are rough estimates. We just want to know really the length of the work term. We want to confirm that they are happening in the summer. The anticipated hours of work per week that the employee will be working, and their hourly wage. And those details together will auto-populate the anticipated total salary over the work term. If that auto-populated field is incorrect, you can go in and edit that number. The next questions available are yes/no questions. The first being, I anticipate that special accommodations such as dependent support, disability support, or transportation accommodation over 150 kilometers may be required to fill this position. I am expecting that most applicants will probably select no for this in the initial phases of the application, but once contracts are awarded and employees are in place, we might need to revisit that to seek additional funding for those types of supports. And those are done on a case-by-case basis. They are not available to all positions. The applicant will then certify that the position is, if successfully funded through this CPRA program, the applicant organization will commit the necessary funding to support this position. And it is a requirement that the applicant organization match the funding. So this funding program provides 50% of the wage and MERC's total. This is, again, a continuation of part 3 of the application form. Please indicate how this position fits the description of a green job. So here the applicant will have an option of selecting one of the titles in the definition of the green job, be it park horticulture and landscaping, parks planning, parks technicians, biodiversity, etc. If none of those titles are appropriate for the job that you wish to create, that field is also customizable. So you can just delete what has been entered into that field and enter your own title. The meat and bones of this application will come in the next section, in where the applicant has to describe how this job aligns with the Summer Work Experience Green Jobs Initiative to create meaningful job experiences for youth, build a generation of youth that will value nature close to home, etc., and generate much needed support for the municipality to advance green priorities. So those 3 questions probably sound familiar because they are mentioned exactly as you see them there in the goals of the program. So we want to make sure that each position and each job created will meet all 3 goals of the program. There's a section to indicate whether efforts will be taken by the applicant organization to reach youth at risk, youth with disabilities, visible language minorities, new Canadians, or Indigenous youth to fill their positions. And there's a space right at the bottom for any additional comments. You will see at the bottom of the form, this is the bottom of Part 3 of the application form online. So again, the applicant has an option to save on the bottom right-hand side of their screen, and they can save as they go along through this form. They can continue to Part 4 if there's only one position they are applying for. They can also select the button that says Add a Position, and that will bring up a whole new section for Part 3 in addition to the one that was just completed. So instead of having the top of that screen say Position 1, it will then say Position 2, and the applicant can then go through all the same details for the second position that will be created. Part 4 of the application is requirements. So the applicant must confirm that no other federal funding will support the positions being applied for in this application. The applicant must also confirm that their organization will comply with reporting and follow-up evaluation requirements as outlined by Employment and Social Development Canada. And those reporting requirements will be made available to successful applicants upon the delivery of the contract. Do you confirm that all personnel hired by your organization for the positions described in this application will be eligible to work in Canada, are between the ages of 15 and 30, and have been registered as a full-time student in the previous academic year and will be returning to as a full-time student in the next academic year? And that those students can be either high school students or post-secondary students. The applicant must also confirm that all positions described in the application will be new for the summer of 2018. And the applicant must finally confirm that the positions being applied for will not take away employment opportunities from others. So they won't be filling a position left vacant due to an internal dispute. They won't be filling the position of a worker who's been laid off, or they won't displace a worker who was already employed by the organization. 3 final disclaimers, lots of check boxes to fill at the end of the application to confirm that the applicant understands the funding covers only salary and MERCs as previously described, to confirm that the application is not a guarantee of funding and that CPRA reserves the right to fund only a portion of the jobs described in the application, and that the applicant understands that if the application is approved, the applicant will be required to follow reporting and contracting rules as laid out by the CPRA. Again, this project is funded through the Government of Canada's Summer Work Experience Program, and we thank the government very much for allowing the CPRA and for awarding the CPRA this contract to roll out this program across the country. Once the applicant hits the, Once the applicant hits the submit button there in the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you'll see it in a blue box. The next screen that will show will be a summary of their application, and the applicant can print this right from the web. There will also be a box that pops up that gives the applicant their own unique URL to access their application should they want to edit it anytime before the application deadline. That unique URL is created once per applicant. So if for whatever reason you have misplaced your URL or it didn't come to you or you didn't write it all down, please contact your regional manager and we can retrieve that URL for you and send it to you. Applications received will be reviewed on the following criteria. Demonstration that the applicant has the necessary funding to support the 50-50 financial partnership. So again, as a reminder, this program will fund up to 50% of salary and MERCs to a maximum of $5,712. The remaining portion of the employee's salary and MERCs must be provided by the applicant. Demonstration that efforts will be taken to reach youth at risk, disabled youth, visible and language minorities, new Canadians, and Indigenous youth. This is not a requirement of the program, but certainly through this program we do hope to reach those population groups. And finally, demonstration that the job created aligns with the Summer Work Experience Green Jobs Initiative goals. And those are the 3 goals that we've mentioned before. The other requirements are the confirmations that we just went through when we went through the application form. And all of those sections must be confirmed by the applicant in order to be successfully considered for funding through this program. Important dates. So you'll see that there are 2 rounds for applications. The first application deadline is this coming Monday, February 26th. Applications will be accepted until 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. We realize that this is a tight timeline and on this webinar on a Friday afternoon right before the application deadline. The notice of decision, we'll try to get those notices out the door as quickly as we possibly can, but at the very latest, applicants will be notified by March 5th whether or not their application was successful. Up to 300 jobs will be funded in the first round, and that is to accommodate and to be fair to organizations that might not be able to meet this quick turnaround timeline for the first application deadline. So we will fund up to 300 jobs at the first application deadline, and then the second application deadline is March 12th, 2018, with a little bit longer of a period for the notice of decision, but that's because all remaining funding will be awarded after the second application deadline. So again, up to 500 jobs will be supported for the summer of 2018, and we hope to have all of those notices of decision for those successful applications and applicants by the end of March. Each region, each province, each territory has a regional manager working with the CPRA and with me to manage the questions, the contracts, and all of the information that's flowing across the country about this program. So you will see that we have Noelle Virtue, who's on the line today. She's responsible for British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. Diane English, I believe, is on the line, and she's responsible for Manitoba and Ontario. Laurie Paget is not on this call. She's responsible for all the applications in the Quebec region, as well as any questions that are coming in French. And you'll see Laurie's contact information on the French side of the website. Michelle DeSourcy is responsible for the eastern provinces, so New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, and Newfoundland, and Michelle's on the call today. And Jennifer Newman, sorry Jennifer, she's also on the call today, and she's your regional manager for the North, so for Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. And I encourage you all, if there's a question that we don't answer today or a question that comes up along the way, please contact your regional managers directly. They're working very hard to roll this program out, and we thank them for everything that they're doing to assist along the way.